Greetings, dear ones. I was asked, why does one who is spiritually inclined have so much of hardships and or so much of sufferings? Why does the one who has embraced God or godliness still continue to have so much sufferings, or maybe even more sufferings than before? Now, I have been meeting many people as I move around in my divine travels, and coming across many people whom from a distance, when I look at them or I have been looking at them, they have been seemingly so wonderful. Their journey seems so wonderful, very successful people, or very kind of enlightened people, and very jovial and happy people. All of them, especially those who are having even so many divine experiences, and so many mystical experiences in their life. But when I meet them closely and I spend a little moments with them, or I get to know them closely, or they reveal certain aspects of them, that is when I am astonished to see that, oh my God, it's not what it looks like and what I assumed it to be. So I was assuming their lives are so simple and easy, and often we end up with the temptation of, oh, I wish my life would be like someone of this kind, so that it's so easy, it's so beautiful, it's so nice, it's so enjoyable. I get to come across many people who look at me in the face also and say the same. They tell me, how I wish I had a life like yours. How I wish I could be like you. And that is when, like the other divine people reveal to me, I also reveal to them that things are not as it looks. Now, why does this happen? For example, I can tell you from my own journey of life that my life has never been easy. Never. At least from the time I got into my senses and understood this world and started looking into this world, or started dealing with how to survive in this world, I found life very difficult. And the kind of challenges that I have gone through, right from my childhood, lot of troubles I had, and it continued up to the adolescence and teenage, and went right into the adulthood, and even life now as it goes on. I cannot vouch that things are so super. Though I may look very kind of carefree, or very kind of free or blissful, it's not like that. It cannot be that, It cannot be that way. Perhaps it is because of the social media, because we always prefer to put up or share things that are good and happy. And why would I want to share my sad moments or unhappy moments, or something, or tenseful or stressful moments, especially when we are looking forward to and keeping ourselves geared up towards positive incidents, and looking at life from a brighter perspective. But at the same time, there is a lot of things that we need to clear up as we move on this path. There are a lot of things, there are a lot of unhealed parts of us, there are a lot of fragments that are lying fragmented here and there throughout many lifetimes, and then we have been working through so many lifetimes, and then we pick up all the mess and come up in this lifetime to clear it up and to work with it. And so lifetime after lifetime, I don't think life is a very easy or casual business, because we are taking birth to clear up a lot of muck, because there is a lot of pending issues itself. We are born, and when we take up a body, we have the choice of how we look into those issues and deal with those issues and overcome those issues. But at that same time, that doesn't mean life will spare you of the past. The past karma also does play a major role in our present life. So this is what happens with each and every one. The only thing is, it happens with all the human beings. Only thing is the perspective. The people, how they deal with it. The people, how they look at these challenges and obstacles and problems. A person once enlightened, don't take it like, too glorified. Enlightened just means awakened. Somebody who is awakened. Let us say somebody who is awakened. Once they are awakened, they come to know of a lot of things about life and why certain things happen a certain way. They are introduced to the laws of karma. They are introduced to the fact that everything is justified, nothing is of injustice in one's life. So when this becomes very crystal clear experientially, one faces or looks up at things in a very different manner. So maybe that person might be going through a lot of challenges, but seemingly it might not be reflecting in that person's external life. Because somewhere it is dissolved within, or somewhere it is stirring up within, but it doesn't come to the extent that it has to rise up and literally overflow through the external expressions. I'm not talking about being fake, I'm talking about being authentic, but I'm talking about a point where it need not actually stir you up, though it is stirring within. It need not stir you internally and externally. Internal, there might be something going on, but externally there are things to keep you floated, to keep you neutral, to not let you throw you off your feet. So that's a very beautiful way an awakened person can live. And the challenges also becomes less mightier, less impactful. So this is most of how the divine guys move about. But at the same time, that's why I said, when I look at somebody divine or somebody who's an inspiration on this path, or somebody who's a seeker who's moving on this path very beautifully, it all looks so well. But when I meet them and then I come to know about their deeper aspects and what's happening in their lives, it's astonishing, because I also wonder, how does it not then show up in the external? So this is how it is. They are also obviously aware of their lives and aware of what and how all this is functioning. So this is one aspect of it. The other aspect, that when one asks, why there is so much of suffering, or why there is an increase in suffering. Suffering understood, as I told you, from childhood I have been going lot of things, lot, and I have not rested. I have not had the time to rest from one problem or a bunch of problems till I have to face the next. So this has been very continuous. Now when somebody asks, why does things increase? Why does it double up? Sometimes it is too overwhelming. And this I am talking about seekers who are awakened, but things are so overwhelming that even though they know that they got to deal with it neutrally, they are sometimes thrown off their feet. And it can become intense. I have seen awakened people being stressful and depressed. I have seen seekers on the path who are in depression. So that's not something to be really worried about or something to hide about, because the world projects that if you are a divine person, if you are a spiritual person, then all your problems should be poof in air. And sometimes there are questions from non-spiritual people also. When they see spiritual people suffering, so they question, what use is your practice, or what use is you embracing God, or where is your God, or what is happening? Even after doing all these things, you are still suffering in certain ways. Why is there so much of tensions and stress in your life? I do not want to judge, because it's very easy to say. I've heard people saying, oh no, if you do this practice, things will be superb and it's going to be fine, your life is going to be good. Let me tell you, many of the people get attracted to many of the systems and paths and communities, traditions, cultures, practices, with the lure that if I join this or if I do this, my life is going to just straighten out and everything is going to be just beautiful. Many people get attracted with that notion, which is a wrong notion. Probably it's not clarified about the systems. Now, when people get involved into any practices, any new practices, let us put it very practical, let us be very practical that it takes time for one to even understand the path, to even understand the practices, and even understand and come to an understanding that it's not so easy that you begin a practice and overnight you're going to be transformed. Overnight everything is going to be so beautiful. Overnight all your karmas, or even over year or over decades, your karmas are all going to just get extinguished. It doesn't happen that way. It's a wrong notion if one carries that. It's a myth. Just because we do not know what is our quota, what is our baggages that we carry, we do not nobody can exactly tell you that. That is why nobody can promise you that you start walking on the path and in this much time you will be all enlightened and everything is going to be fine. Yes, there can be promises that if you walk the path, things will become easier and you are moving to a destination which is very much easier, which is very much lighter, which is where one day or someday or some lifetime or however you put it, it's all going to be cleared if you keep doing these practices, because then you are minusing your karmas. So if the practical approach is there, then life gets easier, because then one is not too much greedy or too much panicking when things happen, or too much greedy that things should happen very fast. Okay, so now coming to why does it develop? That doesn't make any sense to many people. Why does it develop? Okay, it's there, fine. But once the spiritual practices begin, or once somebody gets awakened and somebody embraces spirituality or genuinity of life, suddenly everything seems to go haywire and everything seems to go topsy-turvy. Why does that happen? I don't know if you can relate to this, but I've seen in my life also, I've seen with others also, many others, that this happens and they cannot understand. But I have understood it in multiple ways throughout all these years of my practices, throughout all these decades. The thing is that when you embrace any spiritual practice, you are automatically giving permission to your higher self or to the Divine Supreme that now I am ready to take the U-turn. I have come very far away from that divinity. Now I am ready to take the U-turn because I have understood and learned most of the lessons. I call it most of the lessons, not all. When most of the lessons are learned only, there is a U-turn and there is a time for this transformation. So one is actually committing to the divine or to the source, or if you call it to your higher self, that now I am ready to return back home. So I am kind of surrendering to the process. Whether you say it or not, this is what it is. When you embrace spirituality, you are kind of embracing the processes. And when you start walking, what happens is, now you are committed, since you are committed to grow, evolve, self-transform. What is the destination of all this? Evolution of self-transformation. What happens with self-transformation? Self-purification. What happens when you self-purify? What is the ultimatum of all this? Where does this journey end once the purification starts? Now, whether you know it or not, whether somebody consciously is aware of it or not, the journey has to end in liberation. Because if you keep on working to remove all the negative aspects of karma, what else is going to happen then? One day you being empty of all those karmas. And as we know, Karma is the cause of birth. So, if karma is the cause of birth, and one fine time or one fine moment when there is no karma left, through the processes or by the processes of purification, life will cease to exist. Rebirth will cease to stop. So, further janmas or further births are stopped. That is what is called salvation or liberation or bhakti or moksha or whatever you call it. So, whether one knows of it or not, most of the time, not everybody commits to moksha or liberation. Everybody just commits to having a better life. They come into spirituality because they are fed up of all the things that bring them bad consequences, and they know that they have to change their actions, their thoughts, their words, their deeds, only when they can have better consequences. So most of them are lured into spirituality for better consequences. If they are suffering ill health, they want better health. If they are suffering lack, they want abundance. And it goes on. The opposites, they come for the opposite, the positive opposites. But most of the time, they do not commit for the ultimate destination. But whether they commit or not, the deal is made. Once you start walking and you say, I am ready to purify or self-transform, and the process churns and goes on, ultimately, it's quite but obvious that you are heading towards liberation. So, it is a kind of commitment, a kind of surrender a signal that you give to life that I am ready to unwind everything that has brought me into this earth, or that is bringing me repeatedly to this planet again and again. So when you start walking the journey and doing your spiritual practices, what is going to happen technically is, let's give an example here. Let us imagine you have got another 50 births. For salvation, let us say your quota of negative karma and positive karma is so much that it can take 50 lifetimes, 50 lifetimes to exhaust it completely. And you have now begun unwinding or offloading the baggage of karma. So what happens is, the more intensity you do your practice, and the more serious and the more pure your intention is towards offwinding or offloading this whole baggage, the more rapidifying the process will be. How the process rapidifies is, all the 50 janmas now aims and redirect itself to be cleared in as less births as possible, maybe 4 to 5 births. So everything is now shrinking to be finished in 4 to 5 births. So imagine the quota that moves towards these last 4 or 5 births. The quota of 50 janmas. It might seem overwhelming, but the spiritual practices, the grace and all actually, cushions the effects which would have been otherwise very worse. So there is this cushioning also that happens through grace, and this is this rapid burning or churning process also is happening at the same time, so that it can finish off as soon as possible. Now imagine if you have the intensity, or if you have the will or volition to finish it all in one janma or one lifetime. You are simply pulling in 50 janmas baggage into one janma. All your sanchita is supposed to melt down into your prarabdha and get extinguished in one janma. So this is where the intensity of that karma can be seen, and this is where it can be misinterpreted as life is more miserable after coming into spiritual practices or after joining a spiritual path. Are you getting the clarity in this? So, if you have this clarity, then, which I mean, most of the people who are very serious seekers, they will know that however serious, because they know this very clearly, whatever is coming for clearing. So they will not resist, they will not debate, they will not argue, they will not complain, they will not go depressed, but rather have an more optimistic view or approach towards overcoming all those challenges, whatever it may be, and it can be of any intensity. So, this is why, if you look at the lives of saints, you read their autobiography. As much as I have read about great mystics or saints or great enlightened beings, I've seen that the suffering was intense, very intense, very, very intense, and not easy, not what anybody else could take. Read the life of Guru Nanak Sahib, read the life of Jesus Christ, read the life of Buddha. All these torchbearers of these great paths, look at their lives, have been very, very difficult. Look at all the masters of multiple paths. I've seen the life of my own master. It's always been so rugged and so uneasy. Though their approach might be different, but it still has been very challenging. So this is the life of almost everyone who is walking on this path. And the higher the ladder, the greater the challenges. The more muck to clear. Now we cannot compare one being with the other because everybody's journey is different, everybody's baggage is different. So it might be beneficial not to compare anybody's life with anybody. Neither compare your life with mine, my life with anybody, or your life with anybody. We are all unique. We are just unique. We are all beautiful souls having our beautiful quotas with us, and we got to deal with it. Hope this answers many queries that is lingering on this aspect. With much divine love and light to all of you. Stay blessed.